Hey, welcome to Prelude to Ulysses. There's another episode of Is He Wearing Pants? Is he? Just kidding. It's not that show. This is Alex Reed's Ancient Evenings by Norman Mailer. Norman Mailer. This is what the book looks like, if you're wondering. So last time his grandpa was talking about how good it is to eat shit. Let's continue. The book of... This is Alex... Hi, Lotus. Reads Ancient Evenings. Alex reads Ancient Evenings. This is the Book of the Child. Part 13. Oh, there is some real mail in here. I'm going to pause it real soon. What is mail, Norman Mailer? I hate mail. I hate mail. Okay. Was that a good enough intro? Book of the Child, Part 13. Even by the pale light of the fireflies, I could see that Tanem-Otep was not calm. If at first I thought the cause for his disturbance was equal to mine, and neither of us could forgive my mother for her outrageous inclinations, I soon recognized that my great-grandfather's conversation must have had as much effect on him. Efflect on him. E-F-L-E-C-T. Is this a misspelling? Let's find out. El Nino. Ear. Eccentricity. Flete. Efficiency. Effuse. I'm going to go ahead and say efflect. Wait. It was meant to say effect. Had much effect on him. In either case, my pharaoh's mind was now concerned with buttocks. In his thoughts, they were all about him. Then they became one great pair and turned into the face of Kemusha. At this moment, my pharaoh stood up and, to everyone's surprise, beckoned to my great-grandfather. "Come," he said. "There is a room I would show you." For a moment, I even thought he would invite me as well. His eyes seemed to stare again into mine with great love, or so I had believed. But then he stepped out with my great-grandfather, and much to my mother's vast annoyance at so sudden a departure, was gone. She stood up as soon as they had passed between the pillars, and walked about like a panther tethered to a snake. I had once seen such an animal in my great-grandfather's gardens, and on the instant he was thrown a piece of meat, the beast would snatch it in the air. So was my mother ready to tear at my father in the moment he said, "I speak not to upbraid you." That's a good word. "Do not speak," she said. "I must tell you." "Is the child asleep?" asked my mother. I gave a sad whimper, as from a dream which was not so false, for I always felt sorrow larger than myself when they would fight. "You do not see," said my father, "how women throw themselves before him every day? He is bored by such excessive attentions. I do not throw myself, I offer myself, and I do it to delight you. For if I succeed, what will give you more pleasure than to know for the rest of your life that every time you come forth into me, he will also be there? She came to a stop in her pacing. Doesn't that moisten your little heart? Say you do not want the Pharaoh to know me for a night. Please be silent. The air has echoes. Everyone knows I am prodigiously faithful to you, my mother gave her coarse laugh. My father whispered, I tell you to remember that you are a lady. I do not recognize the woman I see tonight. You laugh so crudely. Is that your true speech? I may do what I want, but until I do, please act like a lady. I do not think it is what I wish to say. Yes, it is. You say it very well. You speak as well as I used to speak when we were first married. You see, old friend Neff, you stole my good manners and left me yours, which come from your father, that horrible man. If I am too crude for your taste, it is because I, a princess, made the mistake, when young, of liking you. After such a speech, my father was silent indeed. He was always silent after their quarrels. They ended with my mother victorious and carrying herself like a queen. But then my father was so sly in his defeat that I often wondered if he did not make himself indispensable to my mother. Could she ever feel so powerful with anyone else? Still, on this night my father surprised me. He returned to the quarrel after it was lost. I think you are stupid, he burst out. You are doing it all wrong. Admit at least that I know him well. He is a good and great God, and he lives with many burdens. So he is not drawn to women who are much pleased with themselves. Such women are overbearing in his eyes. You are wrong. He has no queen and wants one. He is not even an attractive mistress. In his heart, and I have lived in his heart in this night, he is raw. There is no goddess to be the sole of his foot, to kiss his thigh and anoint his sword. He is a pharaoh without a crook. Be silent, or a flail. I would be his cunt and his rudder, his precious stone and his slave. I need to hear no more from you about my manners, you son of a shit collector. You are a fool, said my father. You want him so much that you will push him away. Then he will look at me and think, I have felt fear before the woman of my overseer. He will never forgive me for that. I will have him, said my mother, before this night is over. It will turn out badly, said my father. If I lose my position, we will be seen as the servants of Menenhedet, and not much more. She did not reply, but I could feel such a large greed live next to such fear in her, that I did not wish to be near them any longer. Since I could not discover Tanem-Otep or my great-grandfather in my thoughts, nor have any idea of where they had gone, so did I slip down in the first steps into sleep. But my eyes had barely closed before I met in my wanderings no one other than the high priest Khem-Usha, and he drew close, and his face was large and round as the moon. He smelled like the incense that is laid onto a winding cloth, although by opening my eyes I could still see my parents. They were not in my dream. Instead, the pharaoh now came forth and stood beside Khem-Usha. Speak to us of spells, said the high priest to me. A small force, felt as clearly as a finger pushing on my forehead, brought my eyes up into the large round face of Khem-Usha, and I said, to set a spell, one must walk around the walls. One must encircle the foe. Hear the child, said Tanem-Otep. You will learn much from him, Khem-Usha. I do not know why what I said was worthy of praise, but I spoke the next thought so soon as it came to me. After you have made a tour of the walls, I said, you may look for a way to enter them. I did not know what I meant so much as I understood that I was now, and most certainly, in some kind of spell. For by its power, Kemusha disappeared, and I saw my great-grandfather and Ta-Nem-Otep in a strange room, and listened to their conversation. Of course, I could not be certain whether my monarch and Menenhedet had been silent during my parents' quarrel, and only begun to speak now, or whether that I would soon hear should have that I would soon hear should or that or all that I would soon hear should have been lost. Had been silent during my parents' quarrel and only begun to speak now, or whether all that I would soon hear should have been lost, if not for the power of my spell to bring back their voices. I do know that I could see the fireflies in their cages, and my parents lay apart, reclining on separate sofas, the sense of disagreement between them as still as a wall. I continued to lie on my couch, but could barely keep before me the pillars of the patio. For I was seeing another room more clearly, and it was like the place where painted fish had swum along the floor beneath my feet. Here, however, were paintings of the fields in time of sowing. Sowing? Reap what you sow? S-O-W-I-N-G. And the faces of many peasants leading their cattle. I even saw the hooves of these animals splattered with mud, and among them, Leopard's tail in his left hand. The golden crook in his right was Ta-Nem-Otep standing with his golden sandals on a field of mud. But I knew the mud was painted for his feet. For his feet remained immaculate. You spoke, he said to Menenhedet, with such clarity that I decided to take you here. Since no noble other than yourself has entered this chamber, you will be the first to witness what I have brought forth. Come, I will show you. And he took my great-grandfather by the elbow, a most exceptional courtesy, and led him over to the dais, D-A-I-S, on which was a golden throne. Beside it was a golden trowel, and above a golden shaduf. Shaduf? Now Ta-Nem-Otep lifted the golden seat of the throne to reveal a seat of ebony beneath, and it had a hole. You are not as alone in your thoughts, he said to Menenhedet, as you supposed. You could not know it. But each morning it has been my habit to meditate while I sit on the golden bowl. For years I have been contemplating the afflictions of my two lands. Yes, our lack of rain and our beneficent flood. On those rare years, at least, when it chooses to be beneficent, I brood upon our valley, so deep in its black soil, so incomparable in its fertility, and so narrow, such a little strip of cultivation between the desert of the east and the desert of the west. Then I sometimes think that our Egypt is not unlike the crack between the two great buttocks. Do you know, that curious thought enabled me to feel a little veneration for the custom of the golden bowl. As you know, no, everyone says of me that I am lacking in sufficient piety to be a good pharaoh. But a wise leader does not look to feel false respect. Each morning when the overseer would take that little golden pot with its contents, my contents, out to the herb garden, I would be cheered by the observation that the gods know how to take care of many matters through one Pharaoh. So they would employ my leavings as carefully and usefully as my thoughts, my words, the grace of my gestures, or my decrees. As you spoke, it therefore became clear to me, and most agreeably, most warmly, that my thoughts, which had seemed so curious to me, so near to unacceptable, that if I am a Pharaoh, sorry, don't do it. I don't want to. As you spoke, it therefore became clear to me, and most agreeably, most warmly, that my thoughts, which had always seemed so curious to me, so near to unacceptable, even if I am a Pharaoh, were shared by you. I felt stronger in all that I already believed. Each morning, you see, I have told myself that whatever in me was failing to serve the interests of the two lands, whatever I might lack in dedication, piety, raw bravery, and martial spirit, for alas, I am a prudent man, were nonetheless all present in my stool. By that path could my gardeners bring forth the most splendid herbs and vegetables and flowers and spices to enrich those priests, officers, and overseers I consider most devoted to the life, health, strength of our Egypt. For years that has been a most reassuring thought. I have made lists of particular men and women who deserve to receive this produce. Even today, I told a scribe to send 8 tomatoes to Rutsek, that worthy rock cutter. Contemplate, then, my horror when I discovered in this last year that the overseer of the Golden Bowl was a thief. On torture, he confessed that he was selling to sorcerers. My garden has been receiving his excrement in substitute for mine. Hold on, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm not going to pause it. Let's all think about what's going to happen here. I don't think it's going the way I really was hoping it wasn't going to go, which I'm not going to say until the end of this chapter. I'm just going to go start preheating this thing, okay? It's not that big a deal. It really isn't, okay? Hey, Pharaoh, what you doing with that bowl? I said, hey, Pharaoh, what you doing with that bowl? You gotta take a poop, gotta take a pee. Well, sorry about that, everybody. Wait. Pants or not. These are the years when no one in Egypt can be trusted. Alright, I'll eat some honey on camera. Yeah. Whew, so good. These are the years when no one in Egypt can be trusted. We do not speak of it, but there are more tomb robberies than ever before. I have studied the records. The grain accounts are calculated by corrupt officials. Theft in high places is frequent. That is bad enough. But the overseer of the golden bowl was stealing from my person. It convinced me more than any raids on our frontier that the two lands are weak. I have not gained the respect of the gods, not at least as other pharaohs. They have been able to speak to them better than I. He was silent, but when Menenhedet said nothing, he went on. It was then I decided to entrust myself to the old artificer, Ptah, my namesake. If no overseer could be trusted, then so be it. Only the waters raised by a shaduf, pumped by me, could carry away my leavings. I had the pipes laid out in my garden cleverly, by different workmen, piece by piece, and the troughs put in here. No one saw it all. Now the waters incline to my garden outside this wall, and do you know, it serves. My plots, furrow by furrow, receive the trickle of this small river. Whenever there is need of more inundation, I pour another bucket down, which he did, and a fly leaped up from the hole in the throne and agitated the air between them. This all calls for perfume, I promise you, and those blind blacks who clean it all are perplexed by so much sweet air. They know this chamber receives no guests, yet my herbs and vegetables have never been better. They were served to all of you tonight. You could feel it. Those onions and cabbages cast a spell. They did, said Menenhedet. Tell me, to your knowledge, have you ever heard of such a sluice way as I have brought forth? Not once. I knew it was mine alone. Otherwise, I would not have felt such fear at making the change. I want to ask, do you approve of what I have done? I do not know. Your reply is worthy of Kemusha. I must say that I fear bad luck. It may weaken all there is, my great-grandfather bowed. When I was appointed by Ramses II to the service of his great queen Nefertiti, she showed me a fine mirror. It was the first true mirror into which I ever looked, and I said, this will change all there is. I was right. Egypt is weak today. I think your sluice will stir too many pots. No, you do not like what I have brought forth. Ta-nem-otep sighed. Well, you have the courage to tell me so, but I would prefer that you had liked it. I feel like a prisoner. So much am I bound by the habits of my ancestors. Sometimes I think that the ills of our two lands begin with these customs that bind me. Then I say to myself, perhaps I am not fit to be a pharaoh. Softly, my great-grandfather replied, do you wait for me to say that you are? You are right. I am the one who does not think well of this pharaoh. But then there are nights when I do not believe that the gods are indeed my ancestors. At such times I do not feel near to them, nor do I feel that my people love me. Do you? You call upon me, said my great-grandfather, after 7 years of neglect, and wish me to love you? I do not know if I can. One must serve a pharaoh to express true devotion. One must be trusted by him. And I trust no one? I cannot say. Ta-nem-otep touched his finger to the side of his nose. I see, he said, that my candor must equal yours. I did not think I would, but I will talk to you. I must speak to someone, for I have kept my tongue to myself all these years, and my heart is like a room that is never opened. I fear that behind the door all is ready to wither. Shit. Oh, okay, so Tanem Otep and Menenhead have gone to have a discussion. Little Minka has made the decision, or he tried to listen to him, but he's ended up listening to his mom talking about how she wants to fuck the Pharaoh, which is very funny. She's like, "I'm doing it for you, baby," and Dad's totally cucked into it. He loves it, but he's not gonna. He's like, "No, you gotta do it right. You're doing it wrong." She's like, "Your dad's fucking lame." It's pretty good. Yeah, and eventually he does kind of slide his way somehow through Kemusha's face into the thoughts or the room of his great grandfather and also Tanemhotep. We're talking about poop. I thought they were going to eat some of his shit. I really did. Thank fucking God that didn't happen. I was like about to like throw up in my mouth. But he's talking about how someone's stealing his poo poo. He's like, so I made my own little sluice way. So I'm getting rid of my own shit. Good for you. And he's like, do you like this? Do you like how I deal with my poop, Minhead? He's like, whatever, man. He's not overly impressed with the Pharaoh. But it seems like the Pharaoh likes that. He wants to, well, be an even keel with him. Sounds like he's going to disclose some more information. Wish my mother was a penguin. Wish my dad was too. Then I'd be a penguin too. I wish my uncle was a penguin. Wish my aunt lived next to an igloo. I wish my pants were made out of whale guts. I wish I wore a hat that was really furry, made of real fur. I wish I lived in the ocean. I wish I had a spaceship that ran into the sun. Murder, murder, murder all the fishes. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bye.